We just had ourselves a very rare weekend where both New Japan Pro Wrestling and All Elite Wrestling won both of their biggest shows of the latter half of the year on the same day. Now, unlike 2019 where we saw Real Quest and All Out take place around the same time, they were both during different periods of the day. So I, like many of you, got a little bit of a break period in between these shows. Now, I was not there to watch All Elite Wrestling Full Gear live because I was at the presidential victory speech with Joe Biden, but I did catch it the next morning. What did I think about Full Gear, and what were my thoughts on Power Struggle, and what do I think the landscape of both New Japan and All Elite Wrestling will be going forward, going into the new year? We will talk about all of that here on the 20th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. The yes is silent, by the way. Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Tyler Mask, aka Tyler Suplex, aka Tyler-kun Williams, aka the one who thought he lived, and welcome back to another edition, the 20th edition of the Chill Spill Podcast. And that is spelled with an S, but it's silent, much like everyone expected me to be after the results of Power Struggle. And if you've been watching me for any length of time, you know exactly what match I'm talking about, and you know exactly why I was still loud and about on social media afterwards. Guys, welcome back. This is our round of applause, guys. This is the 4th straight week we've been doing the Chill Pill Podcast. This has to be the longest streak I've done. A month has to be the longest streak I'm done, and I'm planning on keeping the streak going. I got more motivation keeping the streak going now, man. I actually have a streak started. I gotta keep moving, so we're gonna keep going. Like I said, the goal is to get these shows out at the beginning of the week on Patreon and middle of the week on YouTube and other platforms, so we are definitely working towards that. I'm paying more attention, I guess, to the wrestling news world nowadays, just to have notes and stuff, get ready for podcasts. I usually get those ready on Sunday. As I'm recording this right now, it's actually Monday morning, so I'm a little late to the party. But hey, had stuff going on yesterday, had some stuff going on Saturday too. If you guys didn't know, I'm sure I can't act like you guys don't know, but I think I predicted on the last episode that Donald Trump would still be the president of the United States. And hey, I was wrong. And I can honestly say that I'm happy to be wrong, because the 46th president of the United States is Joe Biden, and Kamala Harris is the vice president of the United States. Man, I was at the presidential victory speech. So in Wilmington, Delaware, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris held their speech down by the Chase Center at the riverfront. And I went there with my mother. We got there at 1 p.m. and the speech started at 8. So we were down there for 8 hours, because we didn't leave until like 9. So we were down there for 8 hours, but we got a really good spot. So for a lot of you who watched the speech and wondered, oh man, they didn't have a lot of people out there. There were a lot of people out there. So what they showed you on TV was the invite only section. So where all the cars were, and some people were honking, and you had people those are people who were specifically invited to be a part of like that. They were part of the Biden campaign. They were people who are like maybe friends and family, and people who were people who have connections. They were there. They were front and center. Mind you, there were me, my mother, and like at least 5,000 other people about a few yards down. Not a few yards, I would say like close to like 20 or 30 yards down. It was a bit longer, probably like 50 yards down from there, and we were in like this gated off section. Now, mind you, I think after being there, I can't really talk on anyone saying, oh, you can't go out, you can't be going out to these wrestling shows, and they can't be holding arenas this big during the coronavirus. I feel like it would be hypocritical of me to say stuff like that, considering I just went to that big ass event. I had my mask on, don't get me wrong. I had 2 masks on. I was taking precaution, and people were like, they were trying to, but like there was no way people could social distance. I'll just say that right now. Nobody was social distancing. People were shoulder to shoulder at one point. I was really not shoulder to shoulder anybody because I was at the very, very front of the gate. And, a lot of people weren't trying to be rude and smush you up against the gate. So I was at a pretty good spot. However, behind me, people were very, very close to each other. Especially there was this one section. If you guys are watching the news all day, if they ever cut to Wilmington, Delaware, there was this one section of just I would say probably 100 or so people. And they were in that section the entire time. And there were some people who were there when I got there that were there standing up and being hype, they basically were the hard camera. You guys know about the hard camera when it comes to not only pro wrestling but concerts in general. This is the section you show the crowd when we want to get crowd reactions. They were the hard camera. They were on camera the whole time. They were the people who were not social distancing. They were shoulder to shoulder, knee and knee by each other's side all the time. So after all that, I can honestly say it was a great experience to be there live. I can't really tell you much of what they said because it was kind of a blur after a point. It's just wow, man, I'm actually there, watching this speech. I'm in the presence of the president and the vice president. And just to make it frank, I don't identify as a Democrat. I don't identify as a Republican. I'm a pretty independent voter. I go with who I believe has the best point and really aligns with my morale and my values in life. So that's who I vote for. Obviously, I guess by watching this and knowing that I went, who I voted for. But I do think that, and I want to not get very political and go into that type of shit. I do think, even though it is great to see that we have Donald Trump out of the office, and that was really the main reason why I think a lot of people were happy. There were a lot of people there who I spoke to who had a lot of same opinions as me. Oh, we're not really that crazy about Biden. He's a good guy and he might make a good president. We're not crazy about him, though. We're just happy that Trump's out of office. And that was really the main reason why I went. Trump is out of office. That's great. I do think that Joe Biden should be held accountable for any mistakes that he makes or any decisions or non-decisions that are made. Just because he's in office doesn't mean he's exempt from any criticism or anything. So I will be keeping a keen eye on that guy and what's to come. I think a lot of people are expecting the country to get shut down again now that he's back in office. And I can say that, yes, you probably should expect that. He's been talking about that for a while now. So I think that's the only way we're really going to get this country back on track is if we possibly do have to shut down or have more restrictions. Because whatever's going on now, as you can tell, it's not working. So I'm looking forward to see what's going on with the president and all that kind of stuff. Politics aside now, because I'm not here to talk about that. Congratulations to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We're here to talk about some wrestling. We're here to talk about that. Now, this is why I call it the Chill Pill Podcast, because I could talk about anything aside from wrestling as well. Now, if I called it the Chill Pill Wrestling Podcast, then it'd be kind of weird to talk about politics, but, that's why we have that in there. Either way, guys, it might be a short episode today because I only have 2 topics we're talking about, and that is 2 shows in general. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Power Struggle and All Elite Wrestling's Full Gear. 2 pay-per-views that happen this coming Saturday. Well, last Saturday, I should say. I will say right up front, I thought that Full Gear was the better show. Power Struggle having 6 singles matches after just getting off of the G1 climax, it really felt like it felt like a glorified G1 show. It didn't really feel like a complete New Japan show. Even with the matches and some of them, we had I think at best we had a really good match. I don't think we had a single great match on that entire show. Full Gear, I believe we had a match of the year quality match, and most matches on that show were either good or above. Most of them. There may have been one on there that I really didn't care for too much, but overall, Full Gear was the better show in my opinion. Power Struggle, you guys know, if you tune into my Twitch streams, twitch.tv/TylerSuplex is where I'm at. I actually woke up very late for that show. So my phone's been on some bullshit lately where it runs out of space really, really fast now. I literally wiped out almost all the apps on my phone to clear out space because it would literally almost had no space during the victory speech. So apparently when your phone's out of space, none of the fucking apps work. And I realized this because I set my alarm for 2:30 a.m., which gives me 30 minutes to get up, wash my face, grab me a snack, set up stream, and go live at 3:05. I woke up, alarm never went off, but I woke up, And I love the fact that I have a really great body clock, and I'm sure you guys have heard the term body clock, but it's basically I don't know the science behind it. There is some science behind it's some neurological thing, I'm sure. But there's this thing that happens with your brain that almost goes off when it feels like you're supposed to be up at this point. Like normally, let's say if you're sleeping in, maybe your body clock is turned off. But if you're not sleeping, let's say you have to go to work at like 7 a.m., right? And your body clock wakes you up at like, I don't know, 6:30, 7:50. It'll make you up around that time. Like you don't oversleep like by hours. You sleep until like a certain period in between when you have to get there and when you don't have to get there. Like I have a good one that really measures out like whenever I need to wake up. So I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I was heated because I checked my phone and I go to unlock it and I go to open up my alarm clock and it says you need to be free of space in order to use your. So I said, you mean to tell me that the reason my alarm didn't go off is because I ran out of space on my phone? I've never heard that in my entire. I legit wanted to chuck my phone out of the window. I was so pissed because now I've missed an hour of the show and I have no time to prepare for the stream. Like I basically just had to boot up my PC and go live. I washed my face and that's it. I did not eat. I did not drink anything. I just went live. So I was aggravated. The first match I got into was the Great-O-Khan versus Okada, which is not my ideal match to start watching New Japan on, but we'll start from the top here. The first match we had on New Japan Pro Wrestling's Power Struggle show was Zack Sabre Jr. versus Toru Yano in a no-ring post match for the KOPW Provisional Championship title, trophy, whatever the hell it's supposed to be. Do you guys care about this trophy? Once again, I asked this last week, I'll ask you again. Do you care about this trophy? Because I don't. I do not. I mean, I predicted it before the trophy even happened that it was going to be a Toru Yano belt, and it is a Toru Yano belt, and we got a Toru Yano match here. Zack Sabre Jr. Toru Yano had the best Toru Yano match of the G1 Climax, so it made sense, I guess, for this to be the match at Power Struggle. It was a standard Yano match. I would say slightly better than most Yano matches because ZSJ's in here to really work over Yano and kind of motivate him to try to either work in the ring or to some extent work a little bit smarter because Zack Sabre Jr. is such an intelligent in-ring technical wrestler that you have to figure out some type of way to get out of his submission or get locked in a tap out. And in Toru Yano's case, he's much slower than Zack Sabre Jr. I mean, in the ring he's slower, but you say arguably in the head maybe. But he's slower than Zack Sabre Jr., so he has to outwit him. And we saw that here because Zack Sabre Jr. had Toru Yano on the outside of the ring. He locked him in a figure 4 leg lock in between the barricade. You guys know that New Japan has like the steel barricades. It has like the little holes in between. Like I would say like probably maybe 6 feet. Not 6 feet. Oh my God. 6 inches to a foot long like barriers between the steel like, you know, poles that keep up the barricade. So he locks in a figure 4 leg lock in between the barricade. Toru Yano, as you guys know, he always keeps like the wrist tape in between his pants or whatever. And he takes out the wrist tape. Now, I didn't notice he was actually wrapping out ZSJ's feet because I don't know if it was the camera angle or I was just so focused on not wanting to care about this match that I didn't realize he was like really doing this. But Toru Yano, in the midst of the submission, unties Zack Sabre Jr.'s boots or shoes. I think shoes because he wears kick pads. Shoes. And ties a knot in between the shoes and the barricade. So Toru Yano slips out of this. Zack Sabre Jr. tries to get up and realize that he cannot move because the shoelaces are tied in between the barricade. So he's trying to struggle to get back in the ring. Yano's back in the ring, and he ends up getting counted out. And that was the match. I mean, it being a no turnbuckle match, Toru Yano literally always unhooks the turnbuckle in every match he's in. So the fact that we had a match in here where turnbuckles were already unhooked literally added nothing to this match. Like, if this were a match like Okada versus, I don't know, Naito, and it was a no turnbuckle match, no turnbuckle pad match, maybe that might be a little bit interesting, but, like, it's a Yano. Yano does this all the time. How is this any different from any other regular match he's in? So, that added nothing. The finish was, I guess, fun. I don't know. I didn't care about this match. I don't think any of you really care about the match either, but Toru Yano retained the title. The trophy, whatever. We did get into the next match. Shingle Takaki versus Manure Suzuki for the Never Openweight Championship. I want to say this is their third match this year because they had one in the G1, and I feel like they had one before the G1. Oh, yeah, Summer Struggle. So this is their third match this year. Was it? Yeah, it is their third match this year. And, I mean, these guys kick ass with each other. I mean, the match they had at Summer Struggle I thought was great. The match in G1 was great. I think this may have been possibly their weakest match they had so far, but by no slouch am I saying it's bad. It's everything you expect. The two men are very hard-hitting. Minoru Suzuki is just so fucking awesome at what he does for his age. I mean, we have one point in here where they're trading elbows, you know, and Suzuki does this in every single match. It's nothing out of the ordinary for him. But he's no-selling, and he's doing the facial expressions you expect from him. And then Shingo starts doing these lariats, but they're not running lariats like his pumping bomber. He's doing the standing lariats, where the wrestler is stationary, and he takes his arm, and with all of his strength, just waffles you right at your neck. And he does this to Minoru Suzuki, and he's trying to stand, like, Minoru Suzuki is trying to no-sell this. But each time Shingo does it, he starts wobbling and getting all woozy, like, but he's not going down. Shingo hits this like standing lariat at least like 8 times on Suzuki before he falls, and it's just like, wow. And Shingo's not holding back. I mean, you can literally see the sweat flying off of Suzuki every single time his arm makes contact with Suzuki. It's stiff, it's loud, it's gritty, it's awesome. And right after that last lariat he performed onto Suzuki, which caused him to fall down, he got him up, he lasted the dragon, and got the pin. Shingo Takagi becoming the new, and now 2-time, Never Openweight Champion. My question now is, do we get a match at Wrestle Kingdom? We already had 3 matches this year, August, and then September, now November. I would like to think that they may want to hold off on doing another match, but who knows? Maybe they'll do a rematch at Wrestle Kingdom. If they do a rematch at Wrestle Kingdom, then they gotta have a break from this. I mean, New Japan, I know this is part of their booking. They like doing the rematches, and it's long-term storytelling. But New Japan also has a very bad habit of booking matches very, very close together. Prime example is our main event this evening, which I'll get into a bit later on. But this is the third match they had within a 4-month period. I'd rather them get a break and have Shingo face somebody else at Wrestle Kingdom, but if they do a rematch, I'm not too disappointed by it, but just face off against other people. See other people. We didn't get into the third match of the night, which is the match I sadly tuned in for when it was live. Kazuchika Okada versus the Great Okan. Tomoyuki Oka, I believe is his name. He was a former young lion for New Japan from 2015, I believe, into 2014 to 2017. He went on an excursion to Rev Pro where he portrayed the Great Okarn character. I believe he remained undefeated up there throughout his entire excursion, so they treated him pretty well up there. He came down here, came back to Japan over the G1 Climax weekend. It was the A-Block Finals when Will Ospreay turned on Kazuchika Okada, and we saw the reveal of the Great Okan when he came out to assist Osprey in beating Okada. That's also we saw B. Priestley came out. We saw the union of the Empire. That's Will Ospreay's faction here. So it was only natural that we get this match, as between this and what was it? What was the tour? Road to Power Struggle tour leading into this show. We had nothing but tag matches between Okada and Great Okan. It would be the Great Okan and who else? Like Great Okan and fuck all person versus Okada and a Young Lion. The Great Okan won every single time. So obviously by the booking, you would expect Okada to win this match. But then at the same time, you're like, well, the Great Okan, he's new in quotes, he's a young lion, so you gotta put the quotes around the word new. He's a new guy, he's a fresh face, he's the heavy for Will Ospreay. Like, do you really want to beat him outright this soon? It is his first singles match after all. He did make his return at G1 Climax and at the tag matches, but he hasn't had a singles match yet. Now, he's going in here with Okada. Okada is the GOAT, right? He's the Rainmaker. He's the 5-star classic guy. You go in there, you expect that amazing match with Okada. Well, this was, as I expected, a bad match. This was no good. It was probably one of the worst Okada singles matches I've seen all year. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say it was the worst match all year. It wasn't that bad. But Okada's standards have just fallen so far this year it's actually kind of sad at this point. And I understand that fans immediately want to gravitate to, oh, but Tyler, it's storytelling. Okada's going to have a 5-star amazing classic Will Ospreay at Wrestle Kingdom, and people are going to rejoice, and he's going to go back to being a Rainmaker. But why does Okada have to have shitty matches for us to get to that point? You mean to tell me the man just can't lose? He can't lose. Like, I don't understand how people translate the Okada arc being good because he's not doing the amazing matches he used to do. So apparently, half-assing your performances constitutes great storytelling to these people. I don't understand that logic. If it were me personally, I would just have Okada taking an L and I'm not saying he has to lose every goddamn show, but you know, losing to a few guys doesn't hurt. I mean, after all, I can think off the top of my head how many times Okada's lost this year. Because he lost to Naito at Wrestle Kingdom, right? Alright, that's one. We went into a big break period where he basically didn't lose any singles matches because he beat Taichi at New Beginning. So, big break period. Forget about basically all of mid-year. You get into the New Japan Cup. Okada lost to Evil. That was basically the startup of Evil's heel run. So, that's 2 so far. I don't believe he lost up until the G1 Climax, where he lost to Jay White, he lost to Abushi, he lost to Osprey. That's 5. Alright, and that's it. That's it. So out of, and I know you're going to say, but what about the months where there was no New Japan? Bro, don't sit here and tell me that. Okada literally only loses like 5 to 6 matches a year. I swear, go look it up. Go to cagematch.net, go to internetwrestlingdatabase.com, you know what, who know who. Okada, on average, loses maybe 5 matches a year, so this is literally no different than any other year for Okada. He literally is still winning the same amount of matches he wins every other time. So, no, he's not losing all the time. He's still winning, he's just having shitty matches. So, it's not great booking, stop pretending that it is. Back to the match. Okada versus the Great-O-Khan sucked, put it that way. The Great-O-Khan, he's still very green, and that's very apparent in the ring. He was slow, and I know Okada's been slowing himself down tremendously, but the Great-O-Khan was not really helping either. I mean, between the Mongolian chops and the headlocks and the holds, I mean, if you had insomnia, this was the perfect match to finally get you to go to sleep. I mean, I have trouble keeping my eyes open throughout this match. Thank God I was on Twitch and I talked to my chat, because I probably went back to sleep during this match, honestly. To get into the finish, because this match is not worth me covering or highlighting in any way, shape, or form. The Great-O-Khan went for his face slam, which is basically when he takes his hand and he tries to do the claw slam. It's the claw slam. He does that to Okada in many of his matches, in the tag matches. Hasn't beaten him in any tag matches, but he tries it on Okada. Okada gets out of the way, hits a twisting Rainmaker. People cream their pants when they start a twisting Rainmaker. But he takes his arm, and you want to take a guess of what he did after he took his arm? You guessed it. He locked in the dreaded Cobra Clutch. The Cobra Clutch that... And I laugh because it seems like, much like the same people who say it's great storytelling that Okada sucks, are the same people who say that the Cobra Clutch sucks. So that's what I really find funny about this whole situation. But he locks in the money clip. Great-O-Khan, he's struggling, and he passes out. So I know people are going to say, oh, well, they protected the Great-O-Khan. But how much did they protect him? He still lost in his first match. Now, did I think he was going to beat Okada? I didn't honestly think he was going to beat Okada, and I don't think a lot of people really thought that Okada was going to beat Okada. But I still wouldn't have had him lose. You could have had him win by DQ, you could have had him lose by DQ, but the pass out does not... They've been doing this with a lot of Okada matches. If you guys go back to the G1, go back to New Japan Cup, Okada literally has been doing this every match, winning his matches with the Cobra Clutch. And on average, I'd say about like maybe 85% of the people who get locked into submission pass out. Like, how many people do you remember actually tap out to this move? If everybody passes out to your submission, then that's basically exactly what I expect to happen in every submission. So you're not protecting anybody, because I expect everybody to pass out. The pass out, if anything, just makes people look weaker by proxy. So, I don't care that he tapped out. I don't think he should have lost. And it doesn't help him at all. This is the guy supposed to be protecting the Will Ospreay, and he lost to Okada in like 14 minutes. Okay. So Will Ospreay was managing the Great Khan during this match. He honestly was a bad manager. Didn't help him out at all, really. He came out with a suit and a pair of glasses on. On stream, I said he looked like a goddamn stockbroker. He looked like he was going to file my taxes after the match. So after that, we got a really, really odd promo from Will Ospreay. The dude gets in the ring. He's gloating about how much money he's made since he turned on Okada. And I'm sitting here like, you turned on Okada literally a month ago. Where did all this money come from? Are you doing shit on the side we don't know about? Like, storyline purposes, him turning on Okada and leaving Chaos, wouldn't that mean he would make less money? Like, if you're part of the winning team, and you leave the winning team to create your own team, not join another winning team, but to create your own team, wouldn't you lose money? Right? So, how exactly did you make more money after... I'm putting too much thought into that. Never mind. So, he's talking about, I got so much money, I have this 3,000 pound suit, and this 10,000 pound glasses, and all this stuff, and this 5,000 pound watch, but I want more, Okada, I want more. And he's talking about how he wants to end Okada's career, and he's talking about how, it's just the delivery and the context, it was not very good. It was odd. It didn't feel like it fit him. It felt like, I've seen Ospreay cut promos before as a babyface where I was like, I'm not saying he's a great promo cutter as babyface either, but I've seen way better Ospreay promos from him. This seemed very forced. It seems like he did it. Put it this way. It seemed like he was freeballing the promo. It seemed like he was freeballing. It seemed like he went out there, he didn't know exactly what he wanted to say, so I'm just going to talk about how much money I have and how I want to end your career. Very paint by numbers. He proceeds to then chuck off his jacket, chuck off his watch, like, none of this means nothing to me if I can't beat you, Okada, and it's just, okay. like, he's just sitting there like, okay, I guess. Okada's even sitting there like, okay. So then he challenges him to a match at Wrestle Kingdom. And Okada, he, in English commentary, he basically says, I only understood 4 of the words you said. Kazuchika Okada, Tokyo Dome, Wrestle Kingdom, Will Ospreay. And then he accepts his challenge. So after all of this, all that speech, all that hoopla, Okada just says, alright, I accept your challenge. And then that's the end of, like, Okada didn't even add to it. He basically just almost no-sold the promo. Like, this man turned on you. Will Ospreay even said that I turned on my big brother, trying to sell the fact that they were friends. And Okada's just sitting there and like he's not even bothered by the whole thing. This is why I can't stand this man. He doesn't even seem like he cares about the situation. But that's the match. It wasn't announced then, but it's been announced. We'll talk about it a bit later. But let's get into a big reveal that happened during this show. And that was the reveal of BOSA 27 matches. And of course, the match lineup for Super J Cup happening on the New Japan USA tour. So, guys, we all know who is going to be in BOSA 27. But now we have the official lineup and matches, and I'll go over them here. I'm not going to do my predictions for each match because I'm not trying to have this be a 3-hour long episode, but I'll go through the matches. So, on day 1, November 15th, we'll be getting Robbie Eagles versus Doki, Sho versus Bushi, Ryusuke Taguchi versus El Desperado, Master Wato versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and Hiromu Takahashi versus Taiji Ishimori. I can't wait for the main event. Should be great. I'll talk about that after the fact. November 18th, we have Bushi versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru, Sho versus Doki, Master Wato versus Robbie Eagles, which I feel like is going to be really good, Ryusuke Taguchi versus Taiji Ishimori, and Hiromu Takahashi versus El Desperado. Another great match to look forward to. Hiromu and El Desperado have been having a feud that's been going on for like the last 3 or 4 years. Oh, I would even say maybe even longer than that. That's a match to keep your eye out on. Don't sleep on it. It's going to be a great one. November 20th, we have Taiji Ishimori versus Doki. Sho versus Robbie Eagles. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Master Wato. Hiromu Takahashi versus Bushi. LIJ versus LIJ. And El Desperado versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. So, Bullet Club versus... Oh, not Bullet Club. Suzuki-gun versus Suzuki-gun. And LIJ versus LIJ. Gonna be some great stuff. Oh, yeah, and Sho versus Robbie Eagles is Chaos versus Chaos. So, that's gonna be... Wait, no, it's Robbie... Oh, yeah, Robbie Eagles is still part of Chaos. Never mind. Taiji Ishimori and Doki? Are they... No, Doki's not Bullet Club. Yeah, this is basically faction implosion here. So that's going to be a really interesting day as well. Already looking great in the first 3 days. November 23rd. Hiromu Takahashi versus Doki. Robbie Eagles versus Bushi. Master Wato versus El Desperado. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Sho. And Taiji Ishimori versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. On November 25th. Hiromu Takahashi versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Sho versus El Desperado. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Bushi. Master Wato versus Doki, and Robbie Eagles versus Taiji Ishimori. So we're going to be having a matchup between Robbie and Taiji. They had a little bit of beef going on, I think, a year ago when Robbie was part of, Bullet Club, I believe, and then he turned on them to join Will Ospreay. They created the Birds of Prey. Proxy joined Chaos. So a little rematch there. That should be good. November 29th, El Desperado versus Doki. So the battle of two masked men. Interesting in that sense, and really only that sense. Abushi versus Taiji Ishimori. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Master Wato versus Sho, which can actually really be a fun match. And Robbie Eagles versus Hiromu Takahashi. On December 2nd, Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Doki. Master Wato versus Bushi. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Robbie Eagles. Sho versus Hiromu Takahashi, which I'm very much looking forward to. Two of my favorites in the junior division. And Taiji Ishimori versus El Desperado should be fun as well. December 5th, Bushi versus Doki. Robbie Eagles versus El Desperado. Sho versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Hiromu Takahashi. And Master Wato versus Taiji Ishimori. December 6th, we'll see Bushi versus El Desperado. Robbie Eagles versus Yoshinobu Kanemaru. Ryusuke Taguchi versus Doki. Master Wato versus Hiromu Takahashi. And Sho versus Taiji Ishimori. And those are all the days for the BOSJ tournament. On December 11th will be the combination of the BOSJ finals and the World Tag League finals. So that'll be determined by who has the most points. Two men who have the most points out of this block. So if I had to give a good prediction right here, what's going to happen, I really want to say it'll probably end up coming down to Hiromu and Taiji, but they literally are having a match on the first day. So either way, no matter how you look at it, you're getting a rematch. You're getting a rematch from earlier in the tournament. I don't want to see Hiromu versus Taiji in the main event, only because if you do that, then essentially you're just giving us a Wrestle Kingdom match like 3 weeks early. Literally 3 weeks early, because like it's December 11th and then January 4th. So I would not do that. That would have been my original pick, but I would not do that because I don't want to rematch that close together. So wait a minute, hold on a second. Wouldn't it be a rematch 3 weeks earlier no matter what if Taiji is in the finals, which I almost am certain he'll be in the finals? I don't know. So I guess maybe it's best if Taiji isn't in the finals whatsoever. So maybe I would go Hiromu versus Sho. Hiromu versus Sho may be great. Or you could have Taiji in the finals. I would say this. If Taiji makes it to the finals, he should win. He should win and choose his opponent. If he is not in the finals, then it should be Hiromu versus Sho. That's my pick for the BOSJ. And the winner can be either person, Hiromu or Sho. Preferably, though, I would like to see Sho win, because Hiromu and Taiji are literally already raising up in the tournament. So I would preferably like to see Sho win this. See Sho versus Taiji in the main event of Tokyo Dome. But once again, we're seeing a rematch that close to Tokyo. That's the issue you get into when you put the champion in the tournament. But hey, what are you going to do? So coming out of that, we have Super J Cup, which is taking place literally the day after. Now I believe, if I'm correct, that Super J Cup will be taking place like literally all in one day. So December 12th, we'll see both the quarterfinals, semifinals, and the finals. I might be wrong, though. Might be wrong. But if I'm correct, that's what's happening here. So on this show, we will be seeing a tag team match. Carl Fredericks and the returning young lion, Ren Narita. One of my boy, my youngest boy. I'm so happy for him. He's back. Versus Kenta and Hikuleo. So obviously this had to be pre-recorded because Kenta's in New Japan right now. And is about to gear up for the World Tag League. Right? He's in the World Tag League if I'm correct. I think. Let me go down and check real quick. Is Kenta in the World Tag League? Actually, no. Kenta's not in the World Tag League, so... No, actually, yeah. He might actually be flying back to Japan because he's not in the World Tag League, so let me stand corrected on that one. So maybe this is taking place very soon. I'm going to say that Kenta gets the win because he has the briefcase. I spoiled the next match. Oh, well. He retained his briefcase, so I will keep him strong. He probably is going to end up pinning Ren Narita, which is going to be upsetting, but whatever. So, Super J Cup first round. The matches we're getting will be Clark Connors versus Chris Bay, ACH versus TJP, Ray Oras versus Blake Christian, and El Fantasmo versus Leo Rush. Now, I'm pretty surprised at El Fantasmo versus Leo Rush because I almost was certain that was the finals of this tournament, but this is happening first, so someone's getting knocked out early. And let me get my predictions for this right now. So, Clark Connors versus Chris Bay. I'm going to say Chris Bay wins. I don't see the Young Lion beating, a former X Division champ. I mean, it could happen. It could happen, and I won't be upset about it, but I think Chris Bay's making it on. ACH versus TJP. ACH makes it on. He's a former, I would say, contender for the Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, as is TJP. But ECH has had quite a bit of years in New Japan, competing for them, wrestling with them. I think ACH makes it very far. Ray Oris versus Blake Christian. That should be a really fun, spotty match. I'm going to go with Blake Christian to get the win there. And ELP versus Leo Rush is very hard to guess. It can go either way, but I'm going to go with El Fantasma, which will lead the semifinals to be Chris Bay versus ACH. I think ACH makes it on. And Blake Christian versus El Fantasmo. I would go with El Fantasmo. In the finals, a Super J Cup will come down to ACH versus El Fantasmo. And I believe that El Fantasma will be a 2-time back-to-back Super J Cup winner. I just feel like by the way they're building the tournament up, it looks like he's going to win the whole thing. It's very hard to bet against El Fantasma at this point because of how it looks. I would have said that my backup pick is Leo Rush, but they're literally facing it in the first round. So it's El Fantasma to me. I don't see anybody else winning this tournament outside of ACH, and I don't think he's winning it. If he does, happy for him, but ELPP. Alright, guys, let's continue on with the Power Struggle card. We had Kenta versus Hiroshi Tanahashi for the U.S. Championship briefcase. The winner of this match will challenge Jon Moxley for the IWGP United States Championship at Wrestle Kingdom. I thought this was a good match. It wasn't anything special. I think it was slightly better than a G1 match, but it's not really by a lot. It was really good stuff in here. Kenta's working over Tanahashi's leg because everyone works over Tana's legs because his legs are beat up and broken down. Tana ends up doing his casual leg whips and dragon screws and all that stuff. I'm not trying to cover all these matches, honestly. But like I said, good match in here. After countering submissions and trading submissions, cloverleaf into the S-lock, back into the cloverleaf, into the S-lock, Kenta finally gets that label lock applied. Tanahashi's trying to roll out of him multiple times, but Kenta gets him right back into position. This eventually leads to Tanahashi tapping out, and this awards Kenta the win to retain his briefcase rights to challenge the champion at Wrestle Kingdom. My issue with this match is that on English commentary, if I'm correct, they didn't really mention him actually facing the champion at Wrestle Kingdom. And during the press conference for Wrestle Kingdom, they didn't announce that Kenta was facing the champion of Wrestle Kingdom. So even after Kenta has won the briefcase, they have still not directly told us if Jon Moxley is actually defending the championship of Wrestle Kingdom. We're just led to believe that's going to happen. And I would like to hope that is the case. And you're not leading us on for Kenta to be given the championship. It's not going to be a Money in the Bank situation where Kenta gets to... Oh my god. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine like Money in the Bank this year, where remember when Asuka won, and then like literally the night after, Becky Lynch was like, "All right, the championship's in a briefcase, Becky. I'm gonna go get pregnant, and well, I'm already pregnant, so the championship's in the briefcase. It's all yours." Imagine if we get to the Tokyo Dome, and Kenta comes out, and then like John Moxley comes out, and he's like, "Hey, my boss said I can't wrestle you, so open your briefcase." And he opens the briefcase, and the championship's in there. Which wouldn't make any sense because Kenta's already opened the briefcase and showed us what's in it. But magically, the championship's in the briefcase, and John Moxley's like, "The title's all yours, champ." Pats him on the back and he leaves and goes back to America. That'd be hilarious. Booking. Anyway, so Kenta's still the champion. I hope that we're getting that match at Wrestle Kingdom, and if we do, Kenta should win the match. If Tanahashi won this match, Tanahashi should be winning the match. John Moxley's been champion for an entire calendar year, and it's only defended the title one time. Literally only one time. It reminds me of 2018 when Chris Jericho won the IWGP IC Championship. He beat Naito, and then fans were literally complaining about, "Oh, why is Chris Jericho not defending the title? He wrestled Evil, King of Pro Wrestling, and that's it. Like, lose the title." And so notice a lot of fans aren't really talking about this. People aren't really giving them flack for not stripping John Moxley, because I've been saying this for forever now, that he should have been stripped John Moxley of the championship. But for some reason, they're very adamant to keep it on him. Maybe they want it. Like, imagine if we get to Wrestle Kingdom, right? John Moxley returns, and he beats Kenta. What do you accomplish by doing that exactly? Like, John Moxley being the champion is not going to move ratings if he's not there, which is why I don't understand why they kept the title in the first place. But I digress. We get into the co-main event of the evening, Kota Ibushi versus Jay White. This is now their third match this year. First at Wrestle Kingdom, the second at G1. I thought this was a pretty good match. Second best match of the night. I think it was better than their G1 match. Not as good as the Wrestle Kingdom match, but better than the G1 match. I will say this, it feels like their matches are starting to run together now. It's starting to get the sameness type of feeling. Like their G129 match was magnificent. I loved it. It was a great match, one of my favorite matches of 2019. Wrestle Kingdom, I was there, but that match is actually kind of a blur to me. Like, I don't remember a good portion of it. I remember the finish. I remember parts of it, but not the whole thing. It just kind of happened, in my opinion. The G1 match, that's kind of a blur to me too. Like, I remember it being a good match, but I can't tell you much that happened. And I feel like when you get that feeling that you remember the match happening, but you don't remember the match itself, that's when it's like, well, are the matches that great? And it's like, well, they are great. That just means that they're starting to feel the same now. And there's nothing really all that dynamic and different and new coming out of the newer matches that they're having. So hopefully, and when we get to the fourth match, which may possibly be the case, that they'll, start figuring out a new format. By the way, the match went, I believe, a little over 20 minutes. Maybe before that. It wasn't really a long match. It didn't feel like one, at least. Jay White targeting Ibushi's back after he botched the moonsault. That was the game plan for Jay White. Ibushi tried doing his high flying for a good part, but Jay White shut him down until he stopped, basically, and stayed grounded with the kicks and whatnot. We get to the finish here. Ibushi tries for his Kamaguye. Jay dodges, tries for a Blade Runner. Ibushi counters. Jay tries for a half Nelson suplex. Ibushi counters again and hits him with a high knee. Gato gets on the apron. He's trying to stop Ibushi. He gets knocked off. He then turns around, hits Jay with another high knee. Ibushi once again tries for the Kamaguye, but Jay counters this into a backslide pin, putting his foot on the rope during the pin, and the referee did not see it and counts 3. And to the shock of the crowd, myself, and all the viewers watching at home, Jay White, the winner of this match, and now the new recipient of the IWGP Heavyweight Championship Challenge rights at Wrestle Kingdom. This may be the first time that someone's actually defeated the briefcase holder before Wrestle Kingdom. And I said it before the match happened that if there were any person that could do it going into Wrestle Kingdom this year, it would be Jay White, which is why I had my doubts going into this match. Like, I'm a Abushi fan through and through. You guys know this. I'm also a Jay White fan. I was born and raised an Abushi fan, so I love Abushi way more than I love Jay White. But I knew there may be a chance that Abushi will lose this match. And he did. And I was sad. I was like, Abushi, why? No! I was really upset. I was mad, guys. That's why your boy was a little bit salty after the match, you know. I wasn't a big Jay White fan for a good few hours. Not gonna lie. Abushi was crying. I almost started crying. Jay White, he's taunting Abushi, doing it too sweet, smiling, cheesing, laughing at him. Real sad boy hours over here. So out of that moment, it looks like we're setting up Jay White versus Naito. We'll get into that a little bit later on. We then get into the main event of the evening. Tetsuya Naito versus Evil for the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship for the 4th time this year. The first at the Minion, the second at Summer Struggle, the third at the G1 Climax. Now, you could make an argument for the match being stretched out over the period of 2020, but no, you can't, because this feud started in July. It is November. So, July to August, August to September, September to October, October to November. There is 4 months in between those 4 matches. I mean, on average, we got one Evil to Naito match each month. That's not what happened. It's not how it went, because obviously Evil and Naito was in July. The first match was Dominion. Then the second match was it Dominion? Was Dominion in no, one second. Was Dominion in July or August? Let me make sure here, because I feel like I might be wrong. Dominion 2020. Might be in August. Dominion 2020. No, it was in July. Okay. So, July. Then Summer Struggle was in August. Then G1 was in September, October. So, yeah, it really was for every month you got an Evil Naito match. And it was for both championships. And it would be a different story if the matches were good, but the matches were bad. They weren't good. They were boring. They were lifeless. And that is why I protested this match. If you guys were on stream, that you guys know that when this match, the bell rung, I turned on Takumi Iroha versus Mayu Iwatani from Stardom's latest show that happened last month. I turned on that match and I watched it. Because I was so frustrated and bored with this match that I had no problems skipping it. I also didn't have a problem skipping it because Tetsuya Naito, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion, the guy in the match, actually told fans that I wouldn't blame you if you walked out on this match. Naito almost advocated, in a sense, for people not to watch this match. So if the champion doesn't care for the match, then why the hell should I care for the match? So yeah, I didn't watch this match. And when I watched the show again, I still didn't watch the match. Now, mind you, I did tune in for like the last 5 minutes of the match, which was interference, chairs. I'm sure there was a table spot in there. I can tell you how the match went without watching it. But the end of the match came when Tetsuya Naito hit his Valencia onto Evil and followed it up with a Destino and got the pin. I was so damn happy that the match ended, even though I only saw 5 minutes of the 33-minute match. I was so happy after it was over. Because thankfully, hopefully, this will be the last match they have for a very, very, very long time. Tetsuya Naito retains the championship. After the match, Jay White comes out. He already came out during the match, because towards the end of it, he came out and it looked like he was going to hit a Blade Runner onto Evil, which I got really, really excited for. But then he teased it and helped him up to his feet and patted him on the chest like, come on, Evil, you got this. And then Evil still lost. So he came out after the match and he's telling Naito, he's like, hey, Naito, you won your match and I also won my match. So it's just you and me now. And on January 4th, I ain't going to do shit. He ain't say that for real, but I'm paraphrasing here. I'm not doing anything on January 4th. I'm taking night off. Now on January 5, he said January 5, not January 5th. Now on January 5, I'm going to challenge you for both titles. So Jay White, now the recipient of the briefcase, gets to choose what day he challenges Naito. My question is, how come Abushi didn't get to choose this last year? Abushi won the G1, and it was already confirmed he'll face him on night 1. Wow. I guess, you know what? Never mind. It makes sense. Abushi was the briefcase holder. Naito was the champion. Never mind. That makes sense. But Jay White getting to choose the night just seems kind of odd. You know? It's like, Abushi didn't get to choose it, but you get to choose it. Okay, I guess. But Jay White chose night 2. He said, Naito, you can do whatever you want on night 2. On night 1, I'm taking a day off. So that's where we were left off with that. Naito had a speech, you know, Sonata, Abushi, Taichi, Okada, Naito, LIJ, all that shit. So that was not the LIJ road call. Imagine that, LIJ. What did I say? Okada, Abushi, Naito, Taichi. Imagine that, LIJ, man. That's a crazy LIJ right there. Okay, so after the power struggle, that was a show. It was decent. I wouldn't go back and watch it over again. But we got a press conference. New Japan usually does a press conference after every big show. We got one, I believe, a few hours afterwards. And we got to hear from both Jay White and Tetsuya Naito. And we got a statement from Jay White. Now, before we get into that statement, let me take a quick little drink of my water. Throat's getting a little bit parched here. Hold on one second. All right. So before we talk about what's happening with the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship, we did get confirmation that we will be getting Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay on January 4th, 2021 on Wrestle Kingdom Night 1. So that's official. I'll talk about my predictions for that probably on a later episode. But here, we got official confirmation that Jay White will be challenging for both championships on night 2. So now the question is, what happens on night 1? Does Naito defend the titles again? Does he have the night off too? Does he defend each title separately? Which I thought initially what was going to happen, because Naito talked about, I want to defend both titles separately, and you know, I want to still be a fighting champion. Defend, like the way Naito was talking at first, almost made it seem like he wanted to defend both titles on night 1, which I thought was the dumbest decision you could ever make as a champion. I understand you want to be a fighting champion, but why on God's green earth would you want to defend both titles separately on night 1? Then maybe, because let's not act like it's a done dizzy that he would retain both titles on night 2. This motherfucker had to go in there and lose both titles on night 1. And then what happens? Then you're just a bozo with no titles. So let's pretend that you do retain both titles on night 1. Now you got to face Jay White on night 2, your third match. And Jay White is a fresh as daisy. Didn't wrestle on night 1. He already said I'm not wrestling on night 1. So he's fresh as a daisy. And you're 2 matches deep. So your chances are incredibly slim of retaining now. So he was basically trying to fuck himself. Now maybe he thought about it and said that's not a good idea. So I don't know if it was his idea or New Japan's idea. Obviously it's kayfabe, so whatever his words are. But we ended up getting confirmation after his little rebuttal that he wants to defend both titles on night 1 as well. Question now is, who does he defend against? And he chooses Kota Ibushi. And here's his official statement. I do a little cough there. Clear my throat. On January 4th, I want to face Kota Ibushi. Yes, Ibushi put his contract on the line and lost to Jay White, so he shouldn't have the right to a title match at the Tokyo Dome. Yet both of us were in the G1 Climax, and he won it, not me. He won it back-to-back, not me. That hurt, and I want to get revenge for that. Yeah. I think Jay should respect that. I beat Ibushi January 4th and face him January 5th, him being Jay White. There should be no problem with that. Sorry to Jay, I want to face Ibushi more. That's my official request. How about it? Thing is, I want New Japan Pro Wrestling to carefully consider this. If I get what I want here, what does that say about the contract concept? If this is the case, surely we don't need a contract at all. That might be the case. So I want the company to very carefully take this into consideration. But sometimes it'd be nice if you guys actually listen to what I have to say. You've passed me over so many times and you never know what might happen. I might even boycott both January 4th and January 5th shows. I mean, you do know my name, the name of my faction, right? Los Ingobernables. Know what the Spanish phrase means when you make your decision. So, Tetsuya Naito basically said, give me liberty or give me death. He said, you are going to give me my match against Abushi or I'm not showing up. So, I appreciate, as an Abushi fan, I appreciate Tetsuya Naito wanting to face Abushi that badly. And it is now confirmed that we will be getting Tetsuya Naito versus Kota Ibushi for the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Championship on night 1. So we have both title matches confirmed for Wrestle Kingdom. Naito versus Abushi, and either Ibushi or Naito versus Jay White on night 2. Now, I'm absolutely ecstatic that Okada is in neither of the main events. Neither one. I'm happy about that. It's the first one since Wrestle Kingdom 13, which was Tanahashi versus Omega. That we're getting non-Okada main event. Awesome. My issue is that the booking of it is just so weird. I don't understand why they did all this to get to this point. So you mean to tell me that you had Ibushi win the G1 Climax, lose the briefcase, and then he gets the match anyway? So why did you have him lose the G1 Climax? Why did you have him lose the briefcase in the first place? If he was going to he literally lost the rights and then got the right back. It's almost like the match between him and Jay White doesn't matter at all. Because Ibushi still got the match. Yes, Jay White got the right to face Naito. Great. But Ibushi lost. And I'm a Ibushi fanboy. You guys know this. I'm not afraid to admit it. But Ibushi lost. He shouldn't be getting that match. Jay White won. He should be, and he does. But Ibushi gets it too. If you were going to do that, then he should have beat Jay White. And you should have put Jay White and Naito in the same block. And Jay White beats both Naito and Ibushi. I don't know how else you could have done this. I guess the way they did it, maybe another way was the only route to get to this point. But it just seemed like they took extra steps to get here. This seemed like extra steps. You could have easily done Jay White versus, do Jay White versus Sonata. You know, the runner-up for B block versus the runner-up for A block. Well, I mean, not Sonata. Well, I guess the G1 Climax finalists versus the runner-up for A block or B block. You could have done something else to get to this point. It just seemed like extra steps. Very confusing. I understand why they did it. It just seems very convoluted, very unnecessary to get to that point with. I'm excited for Ibushi versus Naito. But at the same time, this doesn't feel like a Ibushi's story anymore. It feels like I got my opportunity because I won a G1 Climax. And then I still lost. But I'm here. Still. I feel like last year, Ibushi won a G1 Climax. The story was there for Ibushi to win, and he didn't. He won this year. The story is still there. Not as prevalent, though, because he already lost to Okada. He already lost the right to beat IWGP Heavyweight Champion. So now you get to face Naito this year. Great. But now you already lost the right to face him when you lost to Jay White. So how special will it be if Ibushi beats Naito now? That's my issue. Even if Ibushi beats Naito and becomes both the dual champion, it's not that special anymore. Because you already lost. I don't know. I don't understand that logic. So now, if Ibushi loses to Naito on night 1, now he's a really big fucking loser. Because you lost on night 1 last year, you lost on night 2 last year, and then you lose on night 1 this year. I don't understand Ibushi's booking here. I am not understanding that. Jay White, I kind of understand. He's playing a clever game. If Ibushi wins and he faces Jay White, he has to beat Jay. If Ibushi beats Naito, he has to beat Jay White. He literally lost to Jay White 3 times consecutively in 2020. He can't go in there and lose to Jay White again. That would just be dumb. It would just be dumb. It wouldn't make too much sense. I mean, in New Japan, I guess it makes sense because Sonata lost to Okada 7 times before he won? So I guess maybe it might make sense. But in the arc of a underdog overcoming the odds, that doesn't make any sense. So Abushi would have to beat Jay White. If Naito beats Abushi, you can have Naito versus Jay White, and either man can win. Naito can beat Jay White, which I guess still would kind of be dumb, considering that Jay White beat Abushi. I don't fucking know, man. I feel like the way we got to this point just seems weird. It doesn't. I don't know. The way we got to this point hurts my head. That's all I can say. It hurts my brain. I'm glad I booked my ticket to Wrestle Kingdom last year, not this year, because I would have been very confused and conflicted. By the way, that's Wrestle Kingdom right now. Also in the press conference, we got the VTR announcement for who's in the World Tag League this year. So, officially announced for World Tag League, here are the teams. We have the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions, the Dangerous Tekkers, Zack Sabre Jr. and Taichi, Hanar Ace, the team of Toru Hanare and Hiroshi Tanahashi, the team of Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi, the team of Toru Yano and Tomohiro Ishii, the team of Shingo Takagi and Sonata, their first time being in the World Tag League together, the team of Evil and Yujiro Takahashi, their first time being in the World Tag League together, the returning team of Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens, making their return back to New Japan Television. More so Bad Luck Fale, because Chase Owens already made his return during the Road to Power Struggle Tour. But Bad Luck Fale is back. Also, the returning team of the former 6-time IWGP Tag Team Champions, making their 5th consecutive entry into the World Tag League, the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. So welcome back, those guys. They're a top pick to win. And lastly is the team of the Great Okan and X, a mystery tag team partner for the Great Okan, and we can all assume will be joining Will Ospreay's Empire. Question is, who will it be? I wondered about this for a good, hour. I'm like, all right, who could it be? Could it be, I don't know, someone joining? A lot of people speculate it'll be Jay White, which doesn't make any sense to me. Why Jay White would just leave Bullet Club and join Will Ospreay's faction? That literally, you can do that maybe not a year from now, maybe months from now, after the arc with Evil and White is finished. But now that it makes no sense. So that wouldn't make any sense. Could it be maybe a fed up guy from a faction leaving? Maybe, I don't know, maybe like Ishii or something. I don't know. Who could it be? But then I went on Twitter and I saw someone like this post, and immediately I figured out who it's going to be. Now, you guys can listen in if you don't want to know. I don't have any insiders. This is just my educated guess. I believe it's Shota Umino. I believe it's Shooter to a lot of you, but I believe it's Shota Umino. And for this reason. Now, this is Detective Tyler speaking here. Shota Umino has a Twitter handle. Let me go to his Twitter handle right now and tell you guys what the Twitter handle is. So let's go to Twitter right now. Search Shota Umino. On his Twitter handle, at ShooterUS, SHOOTR/US. This man really never, ever posts on Twitter. Literally, his last Twitter post was December 24th, 2019, which reads, "Happy Merry Christmas. I received a Death Rider's jacket from Jon Moxley. I always climb to the top of the harshest mountain with this jacket. Hashtag MoxXShooter." He was on excursion. He got a jacket. Good for him. That's his last tweet. However, Twitter has a very, very, very elusive, I don't know why this is an option, but you can see what the person has liked. Like, you know how you can like a tweet on Twitter? Well, if you're following a person, you can see what they liked, which I don't like. Because what if I want to like something that I don't want people to see? But if you go to the like section of Shota Umino's Twitter handle, you can see he has liked only one post. And the one post he likes is the post of Will Ospreay announcing that there will be a new member joining soon. You can say it's coincidence. I don't believe that's a fucking coincidence. Out of all the posts in the world to like, this is the only one he's ever liked. The only one. Shota Umino has also not been on any single show. Not Rev Pro, not New Japan, not an indie show since March of this year. Ren Narita has been announced for the Super J Cup show. Not in the Super J Cup, but for the Super J Cup show. Shota Umino has just been MIA. But now he's liking posts regarding Will Ospreay. It just seems way too coincidental. So I believe it's Shota Umino. Now, it excites me because that's my child, and I love Shota Umino. But it disappoints me because he's going to be a heel. Now, also the reason why I believe it's going to be Shota Umino is given what the first match is for this team. On night 1 of the World Tag League and Super J Cup, BOSJ kind of like merger, like dual show. The match is set for the Great Khan and X versus Hanares, Toa Hanare, and Hiroshi Tanahashi. Shota Umino had a slight feud with Hiroshi Tanahashi in last year's New Japan Cup. Remember, Shota Umino was basically the young lion who was getting the big push. He was teaming with Tanahashi, and before he teamed with Tanahashi, he was facing Tanahashi. In this tournament, he lost. He had a great match, Tanahashi, but it seemed like they had unfinished business with each other. And now, X is going to be facing this team on day 1. And Shota Umino is liking Ospreay's post about recruiting a new member. It just seems a bit too coincidental. I don't know, man. I think it's Shota. I think it's Shooter. Now, I'm excited because Shota Umino is actually going to be graduating if that's the case. Hopefully. But, Osprey and Shota? Ew. I mean, I guess it makes sense. Because it's Shota versus Tanahashi. Shota wants to be the ace. Shooter. Whatever. But Osprey and Shota. And you're setting Shota up to be disappointed. You set me up to be disappointed, I feel like. I'm being set up to be disappointed by this outcome. So hopefully, Shota is going to be a part of the Empire for a short period of time. But who knows? Who knows, man? Who knows? But that's it for New Japan right now. Let's now talk about All Elite Wrestling Full Gear. They had their show later in the day. I saw this the morning of. Let's talk about Full Gear. So, on the buy-in, we saw Serena Deeb versus Allysin Kay for the NWA Women's Championship. I thought it was a fairly good match. Serena Deeb, I thought there's a really cool spot in here. So, she had Allysin Kay in this Mutilock. Well, she put her in position for the Mutilock. And then she shifts it into this dungeon lock. In 2K video games, it's called the dungeon lock. But she puts her in this, like, sharpshooter. I don't know how to describe it. It's a really cool submission. Put it that way. Allysin Kay got out of it, though. Allysin Kay hit her signature move, the AK-47 on Serena, but she rolled out of the ring. Smart move. She got her back into the ring. Serena Deeb hit her with a dragon screw on the apron. On the rope, I meant. And soon after, Serena Deeb hit her double arm clutch face buster and locked in the Trinity lock onto Allysin Kay and tapped her out to retain the NWA Women's Championship. After the match, Thunder Rosa came out and basically eyed her down. So we're getting Serena Deeb and Thunder Rosa very soon for the NWA Women's Championship. So NWA Women's Championship seems to be like not a mainstay here on AEW, but it's a championship we're seeing an awful lot more on television, which I'm not opposed to. I think they're having some really good matches, so I can't wait for that match. But then we get into the main show. The main show for Full Gear. Kenny Omega versus Heyman Page started off the show. It kicked off. It was a great match between these two men. The storytelling in here was great. The work rate was great. I thought it wasn't like the best match on the show, but I would say maybe second or third best match on the show. It was a great way to kick off the show. Don't want to go too deep into it. Kenny Omega did end up winning the match with a one-winged angel. and he beat Heyman Page. So Kenny Omega is now the number one contender for the AEW Championship. I would give it a 7 out of 10. Maybe 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. Great match, but wasn't like overly great in my opinion. After that, we got into John Silver versus Orange Cassidy. A nice, fun match. Oddly, I enjoyed this. I would say slightly more than Omega and Page. Like, I thought, in its own way, it was a great match. Omega and Page was. But John Silver and Orange Cassidy just was fun. And I feel like the fun aspect of me made me enjoy it a little bit more. It was a little bit more enticing, in a sense. I'm starting to get my noses all stuffed up. I need to drink some more water here. Hold on one second. John Silver is a future star. We've been seeing this. If you watch Being the Elite, which I watch it here and there, I don't watch it every single week. But on Being the Elite, he's giving a lot of these homoerotic, very goofy segments that really get him over in a sense with the Being the Elite crowd. If you watch AEW, they showcase him a lot more, being, the really kooky, crazy one. I don't know. I see something in John Silver. He may not be 6 feet tall. He's 5'4". He's very short. But he's strong. He was throwing Orange Cassidy around this damn ring like he was nothing, which is crazy because Orange Cassidy isn't tall, but he's much taller than John Silver. He was just throwing him around. Capture that with the kicks he was delivering in, and he can be something. Orange Cassidy, we know what he's about. He won the match with the Orange Punch, and he secured the victory with the Air Raid Siren. So Orange Cassidy won this match. I'd give that a 7 out of 10. Kept the ball rolling. Then we get into the third match. Cody Rhodes. It's now Cody Rhodes, no longer Cody. He got the trademark official. Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. I thought this is a damn good match. A really, really damn good match. Dare I say even a great match. I thought it was very much on par with their previous matches. Darby and Cody always have really good ones. Early on, Darby was starting to dominate, and Cody got basically a bit of a talking to from Arn Anderson, who's like, "Yo, you need to start powerhousing this guy around. You're bigger than him. Stop bitching around and start powerhousing this guy." And he started doing that, and people were booing him. The crowd was very lively. There was more people in the crowd tonight, and it definitely showed on the telecast. They were loud. They were vocal. Cody was getting booed for a lot of this match, and it was just great. I enjoyed it, and I'm sorry if I'm not going blow by blow, but this has literally been 2 days out, and I wrote these notes literally a day ago, so I'm remembering these spots, and at the same time, I'm trying to read what I wrote, so if I'm not saying every cool thing that happened, I apologize. But one of the cool spots about this match was Cody gets Darby on the top rope, and he delivers a crossroads from the top rope. Now, you would think that'd be the end of the match, right? But Darby rolls to the other side of the ring, and he doesn't get a chance to really pin him right away. So Cody crawls and goes for the pin, but Darby puts his foot on the rope and gets the rope break. And it was just like, oh my god, it's so awesome. So Darby's now fighting Cody. They're fighting each other. Cody goes for a pin, but Darby counters into a roll-up pin. Then Cody counters it into a pin. Then Darby counters it. It was basically almost ZSJ and Sonata, but better because, they don't do it all the damn time. And Darby finally counters it into his own version of a roll-up pin and gets the 3 counts. Darby Allin getting the victory and becoming the new TNT champion. I was hyped. I thought it was awesome. He got his moment. He finally got. I would have rather been from a coffin drop, but hey, I'll take it. They could do a rematch and have him win with the coffin drop. Or not. Don't do the rematch right away, but do it later down the line. But Darby Allin is the winner of this match. New TNT champion. After the match, literally right after the bell rung, Cody got up and took the belt away. And you're like, oh shit, here comes the heel turn. And I'm happy about this because I said before, if Cody wins this match, he's going to have to turn off the TV heat with me because Cody should not be defeating Darby Allin again. He's been defeating his talent throughout most of the year as TNT champion. He should be dropping his title to Darby. He did just that. After the match, I'm like, all right, if he turns heel here, I'm not going to be too mad about it. But he gets on one knee and he proposes a championship to Darby Allin. Darby Allin accepts this. Tears in his eyes. He's celebrating. And out comes Taz, Brian Cage, and Ricky Starks. Taz starts cutting a promo. Darby and Cody get beat down by Brian and Ricky Starks. And I don't know. Like that end segment felt like it could have been saved for AEW Dynamite. I wouldn't have had Taz come out and have Brian Cage and Ricky beat them down. I know it sets up feuds for Darby. I mean, not new feuds or pre-existing feuds that were happening before this even went on between Cody and Darby. But I know it advances things, but I would have just had him celebrate and go off air that way. I mean, go off that match that way, but that's me, I guess. Will Hobbs came out during this attack and he saved Darby Allin from getting thrown through the car window and having his arm smashed in between the car door. So that's still being taken out. I mean, like, I feel like some of these feuds have been going on for a while now. We could move on from them, but all right. We then get into the next match. Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's Championship. Nyla Rose came dressed out as Mega Man, which was dope and weird at the same time. I thought this was a good match. Now, I on Cage Match, on Twitter, people did not like it as much. You're more welcome to have your difference of opinion, but I thought this match was actually better than expected. It was good. Nyla Rose is targeting Hikaru Shida's leg throughout the match. She was targeting it. She was putting it between the rope, putting it in between the. At one point, she put her leg in between the. It's not the apron, but underneath the apron is the like the steel barricade. That's the steel structure that's holding up the ring. She puts it in between that, and she's like stretching it out, and it's kind of like, she's gonna pull her leg out of her socket or something. Vicky even at one point distracted the referee and smacked Hikaru Shida in the leg with it, and they were just going at her. They were literally beating her down, and Nyla Rose got the looked like she was going to win this match. She even did a midway coast to coast, which is this move where she gets at the top rope, the opponent's draped over the rope, and she launches herself and knees them in the back of the head. This time, she knees Hikaru Shida right on her knee, right on the injured knee. And she gets in the ring for the pin, but she kicks out. She keeps going at her. Great storytelling in here where Nyla hits the powerbomb on Shida, goes for the pin and lifts her head up for the 2 count, and then follows it up with a running knee to the face. And Hikaru Shida kicks out at 1, and she basically does this like very, very snarky face into the camera, like I'm not done yet, bitches. And she starts getting her fighting spirit spot back in here. Vicky takes a bump in here, which is pretty cool because it's always cool to see Vicky get her comeuppance, even if she's older. Like, it's always cool to see that. Nyla gets put down by Shida with Falcon Arrow. She gets kneed in the face several times and pinned. Hikaru Shida retaining the AEW Women's Championship. I thought it was a really good match. I can't speak for everybody else, but I enjoyed it. After the match, this is odd. So after the match, Vicky Guerrero is yelling at Nyla. She's like, "You should have won this match," and you know, casual Vicky Guerrero screaming. And Nyla Rose is starting to snarl back. She's starting to yell at Vicky, and Vicky smacks Nyla in the face and walks off like, "Come on, bring your ass on." And Nyla Rose just kind of looks at her and almost like ducks her head in shame and walks off. And I'm like, oh, are we setting up a future Nyla Rose babyface turn? Like, it seems like an abusive relationship here all of a sudden between Nyla and Vicky. But that was the match. I thought it was really good. We then get into the next match. FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. This was magnificent. And I'm not gonna lie, the first 5 to 10 minutes were slow, and they were slower than it should have been. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys. There were points where I was checking my phone and kind of almost not paying attention because it was just like, oh, okay, I get he's tired in the leg, I get what's happening here. Let's get on here. Let's go with your New Japan-esque match. But once it picked up, it picked up. Harwood injured his hand during this match. I really love this spot because he injured his hand and he tags out. And in the middle of the match, he goes to the ringside official and he gets his hand taped up. And I don't know why I love that little intricacy of him getting his hand taped up, but it added an extra layer to every single time that the Young Bucks would target Dax Harwood's hand. And as it went on, you would have him just like kind of avoiding using his hand as much as possible. And when he did, he would sell very well. So you had his hand for FTR, and you had Matt Jackson's knee for the Young Bucks as targeting points. And as you got deeper and deeper, you had the final sequences coming, you had the top heavy high spots coming, and the near falls were just becoming nail biters at this point. Especially at this one spot where FTR did an homage to DIY and hit a super kick running knee onto Nick Jackson, and he kicked out. And I marked out hard because if there's one thing I loved about the Revival back in NXT, it was their feud with DIY, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and AOP. So now you have double sharpshooters locked in. Matt has Dax locked in the ring, and Nick has Cash locked in outside of the ring. And Cash starts tapping out. But he's outside of the ring, so it doesn't matter. So now it's like, is Dax going to tap out too? And he doesn't. He manages to get outside of the ring. I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So Matt grabs a chair now and threatens to hit Dax Harwood with the chair. And Dax is like, come on, hit me. Now remember, the stipulation is if the Young Bucks lose this match, they cannot challenge for the AEW championships ever again. And mind you, they're the challengers, so why would you want to lose the match anyway? So they're teasing it. He's like, hit me. And he decides against it, and he super kicks him in the face, and he gets him up for the Meltzer driver. And in this really cool spot, you have Nick Jackson on the outside of the ring, setting up for the Meltzer driver. Cash comes out of nowhere, takes Nick Jackson off the apron, and powerbombs him onto the ring crew table outside of the ring. And then you have Dax get out of this, put him into the power driver position, and FTR hits the Mindbreaker. And I'm like, holy shit, that's the end. And he kicks out. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Well, he didn't kick out. He did a rope break. But I'm like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So now he's laid out. Nick's laid out. Dax takes off Matt's boot. And they start picking apart the leg even more. Dax is locking him in the figure 4 leg lock. And it's broken up by Nick Jackson at the 450 splash. And it soon comes down to Cash and Matt in the ring. So Cash Wheeler hits a super kick on a Matt Jackson, and Matt flips him off, and Cash hits another super kick onto him. Now it's already odd because Cash Wheeler doesn't hit super kicks. So now Cash goes outside the ring, and this motherfucker hits a springboard 450. Well, he doesn't hit it, he attempts it and misses, but he still executes a springboard 450, which I've never seen this man do my entire life. He misses. Matt Jackson hits a super kick onto him, barefoot and all, because he removed his boot earlier. Barefoot super kick, pins him, gets the 3 count, and the Young Bucks are your new AEW Tag Team Champions. And what was a glorious match between these two men. After the match, Kenny Omega comes out. He hugs the Young Bucks, helps them celebrate. The winners are out there. And during this celebration, the camera pans out, and you see Hangman Page in the dark, not on the ramp, but in the middle of the ramp, like not the ramp. What is it called? The entrance ramp, like the entrance tube thing, whatever. He's standing there, beer in hand, just watching them on, sad as can be. And they pan back to the Young Bucks and Kenny celebrating, and they pan back, and they don't see Kenny, and you don't see Hangman anymore. And it's like almost like Hangman was a ghost in a sense. Hangman was like a ghost. It's like he appeared and then disappeared. But they're still basically stretching out the Hangman and Kenny Omega storyline, while at the same time they're carrying out the Elite's, story with the Young Bucks and Kenny staying together. But is Hangman part of it? I love it, man. I love the match. I love the ending of it. I would give it a 10 out of 10. 5 stars from me. I know you guys like Dave Meltzer and you love when I rate matches, so I would give it a 10 out of 10. I don't know if I would say it was better than Omega and Page versus Young Bucks. I don't know if it was better than that. I have to watch both those matches back to really tell which one's better. As of me taping this right now, I believe on CageMatch.net the match is a 9.32 out of 10, which is an absolutely amazing rating. And I still believe that... Do I want to say that the Hangman Page and Young Bucks Omega match is still the best tag match of the year? I'll have to do a video on that because now I'm curious about which one I think is better. But yeah, once again, outstanding match, highly recommend it. We follow that up with the Elite Deletion Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. How does one really grade or critique a cinematic match? I mean, you can critique a cinematic match the way you would critique a movie, but how does one grade a cinematic match, you know? Here's what I will say about this one. We've seen a lot of cinematic matches this year. I mean, COVID was the time that a lot of people really started experimenting on what kind of kooky craziness and really all out fun and in the goofy sense that you can go with pro wrestling. And we've seen a lot of this year with WWE. We've seen it with Impact. We've seen it with many other wrestling companies. AEW has done a few this year. One of the latest being Britt Baker versus Big Swole at All Out, which that was not a good cinematic match. I would say that might have been the worst of the year. So going into this one, you were kind of like, it's Matt Hardy, very creative guy. I remember the final deletion. I remember the broken universe from the Impact Wrestling days. Not so much WWE because that was really a bad version of Impact. But you remember all of the gloriousness that he has when he was with Impact. And he brought that over to AEW. We see him in some really fun matches so far. Going into this match, Sammy Guevara, this is their third or fourth match. They just have not had good luck with their feuds. Matt Hardy has almost basically died in one spot. Sammy Guevara busted him. Like, it's just, you wonder why this feud is still going. And you hope this is the end. But let me detail some of the things that happened in this match. And the one thing I would say is my biggest thing that I didn't like about it is that it felt like a match. So Sammy Guevara pulls up in a Spanish God golf cart, which is an homage to Matt Hardy trying to run Sammy Guevara over with a golf cart all those times back. And I believe it was May when he had that match. It was like Matt Hardy and Kenny versus Sammy and Chris Jericho, which is still to this day one of my favorite matches of the year. But he pulls up in a golf cart. Matt Hardy's talking to somebody on the phone. We don't know who it is. When I saw this, I don't know why, but I instinctively thought it might be like fucking Christian or somebody. Like, is Christian signed to a Legends contract? Like, I don't know. I thought it was going to be somebody we weren't expecting. But it ended up being someone on the AEW roster. I'll talk about that a little bit later on. So, Sammy comes to the residence. Neo 1 spots him. Neo 1's basically the descendant of Vanguard 1. Neo 1 disables Sammy's go-kart. Well, golf cart, not go-kart. So, Matt Hardy, out of basically thin air, appears from behind the golf cart with a huge monster truck. Where does Matt Hardy find the time to get all this stuff? Like, this dude owns so much stuff, and he has a lot of land, so I guess there's a place for him to put the monster truck, but, like, I'd want to know, where does he have all this time to get all this stuff, acquire all, I mean, you know what, never mind. The man's been in the business for so long, he has it, Anyway, he ends up running out of monster truck, and we're led to believe that he killed Sammy Guevara because Sammy Guevara was in the golf cart when he ran it over, so I'm like, we just witnessed murder on live TV, well, that's traumatizing. But Sammy Guevara emerges with a trash can and bops Matt Hardy in the back of the head. And then the referee comes out of nowhere and a bell rings. And we hear crowd noise and commentary. And I'm like, what is this? What is this? This is unlike any type of cinematic match I've seen all year. There is commentary. There's a referee. It feels like a match that's taking place outside. Like, normally with these cinematic matches, like the Boneyard match or the Firefly Funhouse match or, what was it, that really weird match between Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman at Extreme Rules, like, those don't feel like normal matches. There's no referee, there's no commentary, it's just the ambiance and whatnot. Like, I didn't mind the crowd noise being there because I feel like the crowd noise in some of these cinematic matches kind of adds to it. I didn't mind that. I minded everything else that came with it. It just, like, we were seeing wrestling moves like DDTs and suplexes on dirt and referees going for the pin and commentaries like 1, 2, oh, he kicks out. I'm like, this doesn't feel right. I don't know. I don't really like this. At first I was indifferent and then I just started to not like it. But we got a little bit further in. So they start wrestling closer and closer and now they find a wrestling ring. The wrestling ring is just set up there. Now we've seen this wrestling ring before in the Matt Hardy final deletion with Jeff Hardy. There's a ring set up outside of his house. But this one has the Full Gear logo on it. So I'm like, okay, obviously he's been set up there by the ring crew or whatever. So they, for like 1 or 2 minutes, they almost were just having a wrestling match. And I'm like, well, this is fucking corny. Out comes Santana and Ortiz. They start beating down Matt Hardy. Sammy Guevara and Santana Ortiz beat him down. And I'm like, this feels like a normal match. This is boring. Private Party, they appear in their car. And they're like, all right, Matt, we're on our way. And then we get Private Party to get into this match. And now it's Private Party beating up Santana and Ortiz. And Matt's beating up Sammy. And I'm like, this is corny. This is corny. I'll start. This is corny chant. So Matt Hardy gets out of the ring, he grabs some Roman candles, and he starts not shooting directly at the wrestlers like he shot at Matt Hardy in the Found Deletion, but he shoots in the air in the direction of the wrestlers, which was even more corny. But I guess it would be dangerous if you shot at the wrestlers, so I understand that. So Private Party literally just feels like they're tagging in here. They're just doing tag team moves. There's nothing special going on. So they're migrating to the other part of the Hardy compound. They're migrating towards the Lake of Reincarnation, but they are stopped by a masked man who is holding Hurricane Helms. And I forgot Hurricane Helms got laid off by WWE, so I'm like, wait a minute, I thought he signed the I'm like, oh yeah, he got laid off, never mind. So he's being held up by somebody, and this is a continuation almost from WWE's very mock version of the Found Deletion, when I think Matt Hardy faced off against the New Day or some shit, when Hurricane Helms got like held up by this masked man. So now he's held up here by a masked man, and a masked man reveals himself to be Gangrel. Gangrel of the goddamn Brood is hanging up, is holding on to Hurricane Helms, and he's like, I made you Matt Hardy, and I'm gonna take back what's mine, and all this and that. And then Private Party come back and they start fighting him off, and Sammy gets to Hurricane Helms, and he's like, Hurricane, how are you doing? And Hurricane Helms is like, what took you so long? And Matt Hardy's like, I'm sorry, I've been held up for the last 2 years, but it's called long-term storytelling. You know, just a little jab at us marks here. They always find a way to just take a jab or take a little winky wink at the smart fans, which immediately a lot of the times is kind of like makes me roll my eyes. Like, yes, I get it. I know a little bit more about the wrestling business than I should, but like, god damn it, I don't need you to tell me that I know more than I should know. Like, I don't know. Like, sometimes that bugs me. But here, I didn't mind it. I kind of laughed a little bit. It's called long-term storytelling, my friend. And they battle on, but he gets super kicked in the face by Sammy Guevara, and then he's sent into the Lake of Reincarnation, and he comes out as Gregory Helms, but not like the 2007 Gregory Helms, but like news reporter Gregory Helms. Now, I started watching wrestling around like 2000 and, well, I've been watching wrestling since like the early O's, but I didn't really get into it till like mid 2000s, 2005, 2006. When I started watching wrestling, Hurricane was still a thing. And then when he turned into Gregory Helms 2007 to feud with Matt Hardy, because I remember that feud, Matt Hardy and Gregory Helms, they feuded for a while. He was like this, it's hard to describe his character, but it was nothing like this. So I'm imagining this is Gregory Helms before, like he was the Hurricane, he was the interviewer. He was like, so Matt Hardy, what are your thoughts on this match? And I forgot what Matt Hardy said, but he sent him into the Link Reincarnation again. And then they battled with Sammy again, and then we saw Hurricane a bit later in the match. Now everybody's in the ring, and I don't know. So now Matt and Sammy are battling into the dome of the Hardy compound. It feels like a low rent version of the Found Deletion once again. I'm going to keep saying it. It really did not feel like the Found Deletion. I mean, I know it wasn't the Found Deletion. It was the Elite Deletion. But there's nothing elite about this match. Sammy gets him in the ring, gets a ladder, hits a swanton on the Hardy through the ladder, goes for the pin, but Hardy kicks out. Now there's 2 tables set outside the ring, and Matt Hardy spears Sammy outside onto the tables, but Sammy busts his head on the outside and starts bleeding. Now, we didn't see this as off camera. We're led to believe he busted his head on the outside because Sammy's bleeding from the back of his head. And Matt Hardy grabs 2 chairs, does a concerto, or I think he may grab 1 chair, but does a concerto on Sammy and pins him. And after the match, they load him into a trash bin and put him in the back of a truck. And the final image we see is Senior Benjamin taking away Sammy Guevara with Matt Hardy, Private Party, and Rebby Hardy celebrating. Not a fan of this match, I'll be honest. I didn't like it. So then we get into a Lance Archer and Jake Roberts promo. And what are they doing with Lance Archer? Like, after he lost the AEW World Championship match to Jon Moxley, he just been kind of dwindling. And even before then, after he lost to Cody, he was just dwindling until they figured out, oh, let's put him in a title match against Jon Moxley. This is why I'm saying right now, and I said it before, and it's even more prevalent now. AEW, yes, they're a company. They're supposed to sign the best and the biggest talent that they can, but I feel like they're signing too many people now. Because now you got a guy like Lance Archer. You know, the guy's not old. The guy's no young anymore. He's like 41, 42, 43 years old. He could still go. He's still agile. Not as agile, but he's still agile. He can still move. This is a guy you could position as a top heel. This is the guy you could position as the AEW World Champion one day, and they're not really doing much with him. And I don't want to believe that they're not doing anything with him because they don't like him or they don't see anything in him. I think they're not pushing him because there's so many other things going on right now. They don't have time to really get behind him. And the same can be said for a lot of other guys on the roster. And you ask yourself, this 2-hour show, is it enough for them to pack all these guys? And then you really got to get into the question of, did they sign too many people? But then, I said but then twice. Also, you remember, AEW is supposedly having a second show coming soon. So maybe there is a conversation to be had about maybe a secondary show being almost like a SmackDown to AEW Dynamite. Is there room for there to be this brand split for AEW? I mean, I think this is a discussion we can have in a later episode. So I'll leave it at that. I want you guys to comment down below. With the amount of roster, the amount of talent they have now, do you think there is a room for an AEW brand division? Or would you keep it at one certain division and just have the second show just be an extension of that? So, like, would you have Dynamite have a few wrestlers and whatever the second show is, you know, what is it going to be called? I don't know, Bombastic or some shit. Would you rather the secondary show have some roster and keep them apart, or would you have both shows have a collection of the entire roster and just, like, you know, the second show showcase basically an extension of Dynamite? Like, what would you do with the second show? Comment down below, let me know. I'll read your comments and I'll include some in my video coming up about what I would do with the AEW roster in 2021, because that's a nice discussion to have. But after that, we then got into the co-main event of the evening, Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins this match, he will be put in the Inner Circle. MJF's entrance was just, man, I love MJF. So the entrance goes dark, and you see the LED lights, like the 2012 Jericho jacket LED lights. And immediately I knew it was MJF, because why would Chris Jericho all of a sudden want to go back to the LED light jacket? So MJF comes out, and it's the LED light jacket, but it's his own like version of the jacket with the Burberry scar underneath, because MJF is just that damn good at what he does. Chris Jericho comes out, and we've seen this image online. You've seen the GIF online, but there's this shot of Chris Jericho looking out to the crowd and smiling as they're all singing his theme song. And it's the most wholesome thing I've ever seen from Chris Jericho. Also, happy birthday to Chris Jericho. He turned 50 today. He's still my all-time favorite wrestler, even though he's said a lot of shit that I do not agree with this year. It made me look at him very differently. I think he's still the GOAT. So happy birthday to Chris Jericho. Just want to put that in there. He had this like very wholesome look on his face. I felt like you could have really ended the show right there, because it felt like the ending of a movie, the way he panned out to the crowd. The match went on. It was good for what it was. Jericho obviously is not, you know, 30 years old anymore, and he's definitely moving like his age at this point. But he was wrestling like a babyface here, and I'm not gonna lie, like, the kid in me got excited, because, like, I haven't seen Chris Jericho work babyface in, like, fucking how long? How long has it been? 3-4 years now? Like, the dude was in here doing his comeback saying, "Come on, baby!" And even at one point, busted out a Frankensteiner off the top rope, which popped the hell out of me, because I don't think I've seen Chris Jericho do that since 2015, 14, 13. And he's able to do Frankensteiners. Like, Chris Jericho was on one tonight. It wasn't his best performance in, like, years or anything, but babyface Chris Jericho is something that I haven't seen in a long time, so that was nice. MJF was targeting Chris Jericho's shoulder, sending him into the turnbuckle, sending him into the outside. Just some limb target from MJF. I mean, he's not the best at it, but it worked to his advantage. Skip to the end here. MJF catches Chris Jericho's Judas Effect. I think it might be the first time I've seen somebody actually like catch Jericho's arm mid Judas Effect, and he puts him into the Salt of the Earth lock, which is the Fujiwara armbar. And Chris Jericho's hanging, and you don't know if he's going to tap out, because to this point, MJF has tapped out everybody with the Salt of the Earth lock. So he's crawling, and he makes the rope. And I think Jericho might be the first person that ever like broke out of the Salt of the Earth submission. So that's something to note. Wardlow comes out and throws the Dynamite ring over to MJF. MJF puts it on, and you see the referee's distracted by Wardlow, and Chris Jericho is handed Floyd by Jake Hager. And now there's a standoff. Jericho with Floyd the Bat, MJF with his ring. And you're like, who's going to do what? But MJF flips off Jericho. And I think, he flips off Jericho. And he falls to the mat. Classic Eddie Guerrero move right there from MJF. And he fakes being knocked out. Obiara turns around. And he's like, Jericho, what did you do? And Jericho's like, I didn't do anything. It's just like, oh my God, dude, I marked out for it so hard. MJF rolls him up and gets the pin. And MJF is the winner of this match. He is now a member of the Inner Circle. After the match, Chris Jericho grabs the microphone. He shakes MJF's hand and he welcomes both MJF and Wardlow into the Inner Circle. So not just MJF, but Wardlow as well are now in the Inner Circle. So now in this faction, you have Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, Santana, Ortiz, MJF, and Wardlow. We saw tonight a glimpse of babyface Chris Jericho, and we saw the week prior a glimpse of babyface Sammy Guevara. I think after Sammy Guevara's just had that final match, hopefully the final match of Matt Hardy, I think right now, because they were hugging and happy and everything, we're going to get some mileage out of the Inner Circle with MJF and Wardlow. It's not going to be an immediate turn. If they want to do immediate term, they should have did it tonight, and they didn't. So now I think they got to prolong it out a little bit, which is fine by me, because I like MJF and Chris Jericho together. They did announce Revolution is going to be taking place February 27th, so basically March. It's 3 months out. Question is, how long does this go out for? What do you do? Now, I think we saw babyface Chris Jericho for a reason, and we saw Sammy Guevara babyface glimpses for a reason. I think that eventually Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho collectively will get kicked out of the Inner Circle by MJF. And don't forget, this fell into the background because MJF is human Chris Jericho, but Wardlow also is tied up in a little bit of a mini back of the back burner feud with MJF, because MJF said in a promo about a few weeks ago that that Wardlow is indebted to Wardlow. I forgot exactly what the context was, and maybe Wardlow was down in the dumps, broke, couldn't pay his bills or something like that. MJF picked him out of the dirt and clothed him and fed him or some shit, and now it's something along those lines where MJF there's a storyline back in 2008 that I can relate this to. Oh, JBL versus Shawn Michaels. You guys remember back in 2008 when JBL and Shawn Michaels had this very odd relationship where JBL hired Shawn Michaels as almost his bitch, because Shawn Michaels wasn't being able to make Shawn Michaels was falling on hard times basically, and JBL basically loaned him money in the exchange for his services. That's what I think the storyline is between MJF and Wardlow. And I think with that being said, if we're going to see Jericho getting kicked out of the Inner Circle, and we already are seeing glimpses of Sammy Guevara being a babyface, and we're already seeing, we seen it a while ago, people might have forgot about it, Wardlow possibly getting hinted at as a babyface ongoing, possibly we might be seeing a split in the Inner Circle, because there's 8 men, what is that, Jericho, Wardlow, MJF, Santana, Ortiz, Hager, Sammy. That's 7 people. There's got to be a split at some point. So you have Jericho, Wardlow, and Sammy against all of Pride and Powerful, MJF, and Hager. Or maybe Hager goes with Jericho. Who knows? But I think you have those 3 guys versus those 4 guys, and you could have an Inner Circle implosion probably stretch out for about a month or 2 before you get to Jericho and MJF again. So that's how I think we're going to get to that point. Chalk it all up. I can't wait to see what's to come. From here, we hop into, once again, the announcement of Revolution. That's coming in February. That's our next big show. But we're going to probably have some big dynamites in between. Miro and Kip Sabian, the best friends, had a backstage segment, which did nothing for me, so I'm not going to talk about it. And then we got to the main event of the evening, Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston for the AEW World Championship in an I Quit match. Let me just say this right now. To all the people on Twitter who thought that Eddie Kingston was dressed up as a Green Power Ranger, let me just say, you got a quick laugh out of me, but let me tell you something. That was not... I know some of you are uncultured. I was uncultured at one point too. But it was not the Green Power Ranger. It was Mitsuharu Misawa, who often dressed with the green tights and the gray kind of like lining in between. It was a All Japan legend, not the Green Power Ranger Eddie Kingston's portraying. I will say the color scheme didn't look correct on Eddie Kingston. It looked kind of odd, but I understand what he was going for there. It would have been even cooler if Jon Moxley wore black and yellow to kind of emulate... what's the guy's name? Why am I forgetting his name so quickly? It would be cool if he was able to emulate... why did I just forget his name that quickly? Not Kenta Kobashi. It's not Akira Taue. It's the other one. Oh my god, not Junya Ikiyama. Oh, why did his name just slip my head? It just slipped my head. Oh my god, that's Toshiaki Kawada. Toshiaki Kawada. There we go. So, getting into this match, it was brutal. It was gritty. It wasn't anything too over the top like last year's main event with Omega and Jon Moxley. This year was a lot more of a serious tone to it. A lot more emotional storytelling was put into this match before and in the match. Eddie Kingston, for a lot of this match, I would say for a good maybe like 5 or so minutes, was just beating down Jon Moxley with all types of weapons and chokeholds. And it was almost kind of depressing to see Jon Moxley getting beat down like this, and the way he was selling it, and the facial expressions from Eddie Kingston, it was cool. And we didn't need to see any like over the top weapons like we did in the Omega and Moxley match, like the barbed wire wrapped broomstick or the glass. We didn't need to see any of that. It wasn't even a lot of blood. Like Jon Moxley bled, but it wasn't a lot of blood. Eddie Kingston didn't even bleed in this match, but the way they executed the moves and the words that were exchanged and the way that Eddie Kingston carried himself and the way Jon Moxley was able to convey pain and the emotional torment that he was being put through and the comeback that he made. And there was one spot in here, which I'd never seen in wrestling before. But, okay, so Eddie Kingston gets out the thumbtack sack and he dumps it on the floor. And he drives Jon Moxley through the thumbtacks. And he goes outside the ring. And I shit you not, when he came outside the ring, I said it would be cool if Eddie Kingston grabbed something like alcohol and like dumped it on him. And me and him were thinking the same thing because he grabs alcohol, the isophoryl alcohol. You know, the alcohol you put on a burn that burns, not put on a burn. You put on a cut and it burns a lot. He takes it off and dumps it on Jon Moxley's back. The ultimate torment. It wasn't anything over the top or crazy, but god damn it, we all experienced that pain. We know how it feels, and you couldn't help but be like, holy shit, Eddie Kingston is a G. Like that spot alone was like, dude, this is awesome. I love it. Barbed Wire's Incorporated. Eddie Kingston at one point took the barbed wire off of a bat that Jon Moxley had, took it off and wrapped around his hand, and he's in pain. You're like, he's like struggling, but then he uses it and he starts punching Jon Moxley in the face with his barbed wire wrapped hand, and you're like, dude, that is some straight G gangsta shit. Like, Eddie Kingston is a real one. I love this. Everything about it was awesome. In the end, Jon Moxley got the upper hand. He put down the Kingston with the elevated paradigm shift. He then took the same strip, I believe, of barbed wire that Eddie Kingston used to beat down Jon Moxley with. He takes it, he wraps around his own arm, and locks Eddie Kingston in the bully choke. And now the bully choke is locked in with the barbed wire kind of like seeping into Eddie Kingston's neck. And Eddie Kingston is struggling, and I love this shot so much because so much story was told in this final 10 seconds. You can see Eddie Kingston visibly getting very upset and almost like he's about to cry. And he almost starts crying as he says, I quit. And it meant so much because you knew how important this was to Eddie Kingston. He's like, I sacrificed so much. I sacrificed kids. He didn't kill kids. Oh my God. He didn't kill any kids. I meant like he sacrificed having kids. He sacrificed potential relationships. He sacrificed relationships with his family just to get here, just to get at Jon Moxley, just to become an AEW World Champion. And he has to say, I quit. He has to give up. He has to turn his back on his mother, who he made a promise to. And that was enough to make Eddie Kingston cry while he said, I quit. So that is storytelling. That is storytelling right there. And I love that ending so much. It put it over the top for me. I love this match. Jon Moxley retained the AEW World Championship. I would put this over the Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley match. While the Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega match had the brutality aspect of it being so over the top in a sense, I think this match had the emotion that the Omega and Jon Moxley match just could not bring. And that's why I think this match, in my opinion, I would give it 9.5 out of 10. I can't give it 10 out of 10 because it wasn't the greatest of all time. One of the greatest matches I've ever seen, but I give it a 9.5 out of 10. It didn't need to be bloody. It didn't need to be gory, but it did its job. I loved it. So that was AEW Full Gear. If I had to give a consensus on what I thought was the better show, Full Gear, hands down, was the better show in my opinion. So before we head up out of here, I got some questions. I asked my Patreon backers. Big shout out to Mason Goldberg, Aaron Carabon, NJPW Fan 10, and Liam Version 1. You guys can go to my Patreon, patreon.com/TylerMask, and check out the tiers and be a Patreon backer today. A lot of cool stuff over there. I asked them, guys, what should we talk about on this episode? And Mason Goldberg asked us 4 questions before we head up out of here. First, he asked, what do you think Sonata and Evil are doing at Wrestle Kingdom? And the big question, the big answer, I should say, is I don't really know. I don't really know because you think about the metrics of the main event of both Tokyo Dome matches. You're getting Naito versus Abushi on night 1, so there is no question about, oh, maybe Sonata will challenge. Like, no, there's no question about it. It's going to be Abushi. White won the briefcase by beating Abushi, so now he's in the main event night 2. So it's not Evil. Evil's obviously doing something else. What is Sonata doing? Like, Sonata beat Naito fair and square, and you guys all know, I don't like Sonata. I don't hate him, but I don't like Sonata. But my man beat Naito. He should be getting a championship match. Evil got one. Why isn't Sonata getting one? So now you're asking yourself, Power Struggle passed. The World Tag League is coming up. Sonata's in the World Tag League with Shingo. Is there a possibility that Sonata and Shingo win the World Tag League? I think maybe that's the case. Because if Sonata doesn't win the World Tag League, what the hell else is he doing? I know there's 2 nights of Wrestle Kingdom, so obviously he's doing something. But what are you going to have him do? Exactly. There's no feud set up. He's not in early in the year it was Jay White. And then obviously mid-year it was Evil. But now it seems like Evil isn't really doing much anymore. He's in the World Tag League as well. He's teaming with Yujiro, but I don't see Yujiro and Evil going to Wrestle Kingdom as a team to challenge the Dangerous Tekkers, because the Dangerous Tekkers are heels. I think it's a babyface versus heel match, and I think maybe Shingo and Sonata is that team. So I'm going to say that Sonata and Shingo may possibly be challenging for the tag titles at Kingdom. As far as Evil, what he's doing, I don't know. Because I think one of the easiest answers to go with would have been Evil versus Jay White. But Jay White is facing Naito on night 2. And Jay White just confirmed to us that he is not going to be doing shit on night 1. So I have no idea what Evil's doing. And we're basically a month and a half out from Wrestle Kingdom. So you don't have a lot of time to book these feuds. I don't know. I have no idea what Evil's doing. But at this point, with Evil, his character has been so diminished by just bad booking that I honestly kind of don't care what they're doing with Evil right now. If I could take a wild guess, maybe he's in that tag match with Bullet Club. I don't know, though. I don't know what they're doing. We'll figure it out as we go along. He also asked, when will Omega versus Moxley happen, and does Omega win immediately soon on TV or at the next pay-per-view? So we all know Kenny Omega is challenging Jon Moxley, but he is asking at what point. If you ask me, if Jon Moxley is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom, because they still, right now, we still are not even told that Jon Moxley will be at Wrestle Kingdom. We're just told that the IWGP US Championship will be defended at Wrestle Kingdom. We don't know that it's Jon Moxley is going to be there. We just know that the match is happening. If Jon Moxley, and it should, if Jon Moxley is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom, he must quarantine for 2 weeks before he goes to Japan for the Tokyo Dome. Which means that, let's go on my calendar right now, January 4th is going to be happening the week of, basically the first week of January. So, you go 2 weeks back. So, Jon Moxley will have to arrive the week of Christmas. Basically, the week of Christmas is when he has to arrive in order to make it for Wrestle Kingdom. So, let's say the Dynamite before Christmas. Jon Moxley has from now until the Dynamite before Christmas to challenge Kenny Omega for the AEW Championship. Because look at it this way. He has the 2 weeks of quarantine, Wrestle Kingdom, and then when he comes back, he has to quarantine for 2 weeks again. So after Wrestle Kingdom week, he has to quarantine until the 18th, the 20th of January. So that's basically from the 20th of January to the 21st of December, backwards, the 21st of December to the 20th of January, he is going to be out of AEW. That's a full month, full 4 weeks of no AEW World Champion. If you're going to go to that point, then in my opinion, I think Jon Moxley should drop the title to Kenny Omega on a special edition of Dynamite on the 16th of December. That's when I would do it. If they want to stretch out to Revolution, they can, but honestly, I don't know how you're going to rectify Jon Moxley being out for a whole month. Like, how do you explain that on TV? Well, Jon Moxley is going to be in a different company for the next month. Like, how do you explain that exactly? You could do an injury angle, but they did that already last year. So I think the best bet is to have him drop it on time. And think about this. Do you want AEW to do 1 million, right? I mean, we all talk about, AEW's beating NXT every single week, but I'm sure the company wants, I'm sure the network executive wants AEW to do better. So I think an easy way to possibly hit 1 million on an episode of Dynamite is building up Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley a month out. Imagine this. On this week's episode of Dynamite, they announced Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley on the 16th edition, the December 16th edition. You have a month to build up to that. You have a month to build up to it. You can have promos, you can have tag matches, and then Omega does the heel turn there and he beats Jon Moxley. If Omega turns heel in the match with Jon Moxley and beats him, not only do ratings go up, but now you have a rematch set up for Revolution. So you kill two birds with one stone. The titles change hands. Jon Moxley gets to go to Japan, come back, and you still do the match at Revolution because Jon Moxley's entitled to a rematch. So I think their best decision might be to just have Moxley drop it before Wrestle Kingdom, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Comment down below. I want you to tell me what you would do. Next question he asks, will Jon Moxley make it to Wrestle Kingdom? I think I answered that question already. If he wants to make it to Wrestle Kingdom, that's what they have to do. And will Jericho be there? Jericho, maybe? I imagine that Jericho probably wants to be at Wrestle Kingdom, but you also got to consider this. When Jericho first came to Japan, when Jericho came back to Japan in 2018, he said in an interview, I want to face a few guys, the top guys in New Japan. Those guys were Kenny Omega, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kazuchika Okada, and Tetsuya Naito. He faced all four of those guys already. He faced Tanahashi in Wrestle Kingdom this year, 2020. He faced Kenny Omega in Wrestle Kingdom in 2018. He faced Okada in Dominion 2019. And he faced Naito in Dominion 2018 and Wrestle Kingdom 13. So if Jericho comes to Wrestle Kingdom, let's say, next year, who do you have him face, ideally? I don't really know. You're not having him face Jay White on night one because Jay White just said, I'm not wrestling on night one. Would you have him rematch against Tanahashi and have Tanahashi get his win back? Would you have him go up against, I don't know, maybe Sonata? Sonata's not doing shit. Would you do the rematch against Evil? Like, ideally, what would be the match? I don't think Jericho really has a match set up. And even if you set it up last minute, how do you do that? Exactly. How do you set a matchup last minute? I mean, you can just have him just do a Titantron VTR promo, I guess. But what will be the incentive behind it exactly? Jericho beat Tanahashi already, so Tanahashi should challenge Chris Jericho, obviously, and he would accept it. So I think maybe Jericho and Tanahashi rematch might be the way to go. Because what's Tanahashi doing going to Wrestle Kingdom? Toa Hanare and Tanahashi are not winning the World Tag League together. That's not happening. So, I don't know. I'm going to say no, Jericho won't be there. And lastly, he asked, what was the best match from the weekend? Personally, my favorites were Abushi versus White, Omega versus Page, and FTR versus the Bucks. Well, sir, you asked me the best match, so I'm going to give you one match instead of three. Not to knock your opinions. Your opinions are great. You have all great choices. But narrow it down to one. I'm going to go with FTR versus the Bucks. That was the best match of the weekend, hands down, end of story. Great, tremendous work rate from both teams. Even though the first 10 minutes were slow, it built up into the crescendo that was what that magnificent piece of art came out to be. Omega and Page, that was really good. I think that's probably maybe my third favorite match on the show, right behind maybe John Silver and Orange Cassidy. Because I ain't gonna lie, I like that match a lot. Ooh, let me give a top three best matches of the weekend. So FTR versus the Bucks, John Silver and Orange Cassidy, unless I'm tripping balls, I'm thinking about something else. Oh no, the second match is gonna be John Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Third match would be John Silver and Orange Cassidy. The fourth match would be Omega and Page, and then the fifth match would be Ibushi versus White. So that would be my ranking of that. And that was Chill Pill. And that was the Chill Pill Podcast, episode 20. I said this is going to be a short episode, and we went 2 hours. God damn. But guys, what did you guys think about this? All we addressed. What was your favorite show? What was your favorite match? Comment down below. Let your boy know. I love you guys as always, and we will be back next Wednesday. We're going to keep the streak going, guys. Back next Wednesday to talk about this week's episode of Dynamite, possibly this week's episode of NXT. Might be covering Stardom as well. And also, the first day of the World Tag League and Best of the Super Juniors will be covered in the Chill Pill Podcast. I love you guys as always, and I will see you all next week. Peace out, guys.